Keeps clips. Alrighty, YouTubes. Happy general erection. Happy general deception. Happiness. Who's going to win the vote? Anyway, I'm not talking about that. I'm not here propagandising people for political purposes. In fact, I do pride myself to try and be as independent, unbiased, and as objective as I possibly can. I know as much about climate change as little Gretna Green, which is zero, nata, zip, zero, right? I've already talked about my conspiracy theory that, like, if you were the top corporations in the world, you would go down the route of regulating countries and companies, corporations that could compete with you, i.e. like the richest corporations in the world right now. They got rich by going around the world and raping, pillaging and plundering, burning, taking anything they want. And now that they've done that and got themselves a lovely little foothold up the top, they don't want other people, they don't want competition coming in. They don't want people to be able to burn, rape and pillage anything they want to become strong corporations. So I think people are naive to think that the climate thing isn't getting used as some sort of a political football. I'm naive as to what this is, the end game is. But what I want to point out is just some things that raise questions for me. Again, I'm no expert. You just make up your own mind on this stuff. I try and analyse the messaging coming out of the media and read between the lines. And one thing that sticks on my crow... On my crow? I don't own a crow. One thing that sticks in my crow is... the unwillingness to... if you go anywhere on mainstream media or anything, the view or opinion that there is an opposing view of the like climate change, in the sense that the world isn't dying, it's not man-made. It's became so that people have become so religious in their beliefs about this, the dogma about it. You cannot question them. They're as dumb about the science as you, but because people in white coats have stood in front of them, they'll sit and argue, it's real, it's real. You're like, no, but look, there's a guy over here that knows more than both me and you, and he says there's a counter argument. No, look at Gretna, we're all going to die. Right, so let's just have a wee look at this. I don't know if he's aware David Bellamy died today.
The naturalist and broadcaster David Bellamy died last night at the age of 86. He became a household name as a TV personality, scientist and conservationist, and was the co-founder.
Scientist, right? He is a scientist, right? David Bellamy is a scientist who didn't agree with climate change, even though we're told continuously every scientist in the world agrees with the common narrative spewed out about climate change. Right? These are things that just I observe and I've got questions about. I don't have the answers. I have questions.
Of the Conservation Foundation. Joining me is the Executive Director of the Conservation Foundation, David Shreve. David, hello. Thank you so much for coming in, and our condolences to you and all who knew and cared for David Bellamy. He was an extraordinary man, wasn't he? Immensely knowledgeable. How important was he in bringing science, botany, to the public?
Like, science, right? You understand this? This guy's a genuine, bona fide scientist, or that he was, right? He knows more about this climate shit than me, Gretna. You know, Gretna is only 16. Fucking hell, her parents haven't... You can tell she's vegan. She looks like a fucking prepubescent 12-year-old. Anyway, she's meant to be 16. Fuck's sake. David Bellamy knows more about climate change than Gretna, right? But nobody listened to David Bellamy. In fact, his career was ended because of his opinion. And little Gretna is getting prostituted around the world by everybody for political purposes.
I think incredibly important, because if you ever got into a London taxi with him, the taxi driver would tell you how, you know, he had changed their world for them. They suddenly got interested in plants, and he had that magic touch. I mean, the common touch, I suppose, because taxi drivers thought they were talking almost to another taxi driver. They didn't realise or think that he was a professor in some university
Professor and scientist
or other. He was...
But different opinion on climate change. What, get out, you're not working again, pal. Oops, a daisy.
Certainly a man of the people.
Yeah, and they got a free taxi ride sometimes as a result, I believe.
That was a great thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what was he like off screen? Because obviously we all know how ebullient he was when he was on the television.
Well, he was a bit of a softie. You know, originally he'd wanted to be a ballet dancer, so he was...
No.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. So he was very... unlike his television, in a way, is his persona on television, because he cared so much about everything, and you couldn't go for a walk with him and not learn something about that tree or that plant. He really was an amazing person, and you know, I knew nothing until I went for a walk with him, and I came out not knowing that much, but I mean, remembering it, and he could remember all the plants' Latin names. And I said to him, you know, how do you do that? And he said, I don't know.
He cared so much. He cared about it, didn't he? But how did he...
He cared so much. Don't say about the planet, because he didn't care about the planet, because he didn't believe in climate change. She actually had to check what she was saying there, in case she trips over her own words.
Come to regret his comments about climate change that he made all those years ago?
His comments he made about climate change, not the scientific conclusion that he came to. Nope. For this wee moment, he's no longer a scientist, he's no longer a professor. He's a batshit fucking crazy old man who just fucking didn't believe in something we all agree on. Although there's people that don't agree on it, but we all agree on it, okay? You get that? 1984, up is down, left is right.
Well, he said to me at one stage, he said, you know, I may have got it wrong, I don't know. But climate change is a very political thing.
Oh, no, it's not. It's about saving the planet from the children. This old man with lots of brains and like ball deep in the actual climate debate and stuff. He knows nothing. Did you, old man? Did you not listen to little Greta? She's 16-year-old and cried on a fucking stage after her mum and dad prostituted around the fucking world. Have you not heard her? Oh, this old man. He should die. I bet you he voted for Brexit too.
And you can't
it's also a very scientific thing.
It's a very scientific thing, but he believed what he did.
Well, there's science and then there's climate science, isn't there? This is where the whole argument fucking comes from. One mob are sitting there saying the whole world agree with us, the world is dying, we need to do X, and there's a small wee bunch of people who are professors who are knowledgeable in this stuff that go, nah, yous are talking crap, right? So there's two groups of scientists, although you're not told this because David Bellamy isn't a scientist or a professor when he says climate change isn't real. He's only a scientist and a professor when he says other stuff. So the press will never let drip into the narrative that there's genuine bona fide experts on this that disagree with the common narrative. Now, I'm not telling you what way to think. I'm no expert. I'm no David Bellamy. What I'm saying, if you're in the cult, you're in the climate cult, if you don't open your ears to the opposite side of the argument. And everybody I know that whines about want to save the planet and stuff, they don't open their ears to the opposite side of the argument. And they've been programmed so much that they think that anybody who questions the narrative that's getting spewed out, you just want the world to die. You want to walk around and pollute everything, kill all the fish, kill all the animals, destroy the earth, destroy the planet, and it's just not reality. And that's what I'm trying to point out here. So, if anything, depending whatever side of the argument you're on, make sure you listen to both sides before making your mind up. because when I witness the information get put out about this, one side of the argument is getting blocked, regardless if it's right or wrong. There's a genuine argument being made by bona fide, genuine scientists and professors from all over the globe that counter that argument, which means it isn't science, because none of them can take this shit in a laboratory, produce an experiment that's reproducible to prove the theory. Right? It's undoable. It's not science. It's fucking conjecture and theories. And this is my layman's dumbed down understanding of this stuff. So I'm not telling you what side of the fence to sit on. Make sure you listen to both arguments on both sides of the fence.
But he continued to believe it.
Because of his scientific background.
He continued to believe it because of his scientific background.
He continued to believe it, despite all the evidence.
It's not evidence. There isn't evidence. It's computer models. Lordy Lord, and that isn't scientific evidence.
I don't know. He'd got into such a position that it was quite difficult to stand up and say, look, I got it wrong. What he believed in was the science that he had been taught, which to him did not
support the
agree
theory
with other scientists. I mean, it's...
Oh my Lord! When do you hear that? There are scientists who disagree on climate change. You're never told that, are you? It's just 99.9999999% of the people on the planet. All scientists agree when they don't. There is no evidence, because the evidence can be refuted because it's not a scientific procedure or process.
Not unknown for scientists to disagree, but he was out on his own, and he was very sad about the way that people had reacted and decided that he was wrong, and therefore dropped him.
But when you first met him, he was doing a programme. They were running short of money. Is that right?
Well, the BBC was running short of money.
Plus ça change, maybe.
So nothing changes. And I wanted him to come down to Hampshire to plant some disease-resistant elm trees, which you probably had on your programme last week. So the subject is still with us.
Yes, what goes around comes around.
And so BBC
Same
were there,
shit.
and they said, look, we can't really afford to bring him down because they said he's no time to plant a tree. We've got a programme. So I said, well, look, if he plants a tree, we'll help with the funding. And we brought him down together.
And that's where it all began for you. But he was very recognisable, obviously, to taxi drivers and the wider public. But there was on one occasion for a royal wedding, he didn't want to be recognised.
No, because he said, everybody will be looking at me and not at the prince and the princess. So he said, do you think if I get myself a big hat and some sunglasses, I could be in the crowd and then just let the royal couple go past in the Mall?
And what was your advice?
Very difficult, because I'd been with him in so many places where he was instantly recognisable.
Yeah, the beard was a bit of a
Especially if he shouted out, good luck to royals, they'd recognise his voice, whatever he looked like.
David Shreve, Executive Director of the Conservation Foundation, thank you very much.
Right, so no answers here. I don't know if climate change is real or whatever. It's I'm of the same opinion as this expert, that it's political. And if it's when anything touches politics, the truth just goes. The truth is now irrelevant because it's political, right? And I would just urge people to listen to all sides of the arguments. Go and listen to David Bellamy's side of the argument. Go and listen to the science that he used, the science that he was familiar with, that led him to the conclusion that the narrative that the world was going to end if we don't fucking all do everything everybody says right now wasn't real. And then think that, just imagine this guy's right. Just imagine for 1 second, not me, don't listen to me. Why the fuck would you listen to me? That's craziness. Imagine this guy is, just consider he might be right for 1 second, and it is political. If it is political, it makes sense, doesn't it? Why it's so full of shite now. And can nobody see the political reasons? Can nobody see the political incentive by very strong entities out there, whoever they may be, to be able to control the world's industry, because that is what is happening with the climate change stuff. It's global regulation, so that the people who control that regulation can dictate everything to industry. You can use this machine, you can use that toilet, use this water, use this, use that. Now, if you can dictate industry to the whole world, it's a pretty powerful position to be in. And you're naive to think there isn't Machiavellian fucking horrible motherfuckers out there that will tell you they're saving the planet, when ultimately they just want to control you and tell you what brand of toothpaste to buy. But hey ho, what do I know? So hopefully you've enjoyed that. Rest in peace, David Bellamy. I enjoyed him when I was a wee guy, man, but I wasn't his biggest fan or something. But what happened around him with regards to his idea in and around climate change, it was a red flag to me. It was like, the BBC's meant to be unbiased and impartial, but they wouldn't allow a scientist on their TV station that didn't wholeheartedly agree with the world is dying, like David Attenborough. You know, David Attenborough rose to fame off the back of the death of David Bellamy. Go and check the time frame out. David Attenborough went out, came the new face of the BBC when David Bellamy was stuck to the side because he didn't agree with the world is dying and we're killing it. And who knows. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that. So remember what I do here. Digital busking. It's all available and accessible free of charge. I'm going to do such a good job you'll find value in what I do and use your spare change, not your life savings, in the Patreon and PayPal buttons down below. And a mega thanks to those who do. Thumbs it up, share it on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, all the good stuff. Leave all your comments. Alrighty, BoobTubes, thanks for listening. Catches. Keeps clear.